Today's video is about the approximate location something fell into the ocean after being knocked out of the air, made in China. Now, it's 3 miles north of something called Reindeer Island, which is just barely a blip on the screen here. And this is in the Midway Island group, and it is also considered 14 miles north by northeast of Prudhoe Bay's south shore that's reachable by Spine Road, which is the last road that shows up out here at all, really, that you can see on Google Street View, which I'll have a link to. And that's at the northern limit of the Dalton Highway in Alaska. Now, the location here is rounded off heavily and absolutely can be done that way. It's an area where there's lots of trailing zeros, so that actually worked out quite nicely. So it's 70.52 by negative 148.3. And that's approximately the location because we're not being given any details because it's the fracking ocean. Now, the other part about this is that depending on the time of year, this is that time of year, it's mostly going to be ice and ice flows and, yeah. But it's like 14 miles offshore and there's a road going out there. So that ought to be easy. Said no one ever about a place called Dead Horse. So anyway, let's move to the live map. There it is in all its glory. Let's enhance. First of all, we're going to hit the Google Street View box thing. That dot will stay hopefully on the screen. We can zoom in here and wait. And we can get within, like almost a mile of the road, but not quite to it. This area out here is very marshy, and the roads out there, while Google Street View would go through and could just go ahead and go, but that was a big bucket of nope. Okay, that's Alaska. Anyway, this is Prudhoe Bay here, and oh yes, there's a lot of this going on. Now, lots of blockiness, so you'd have to look at a Google Earth version of it. And here's some guy jumping in the water. We don't care about that. So let's move on to where this is. Now, I'm going to be zooming in here to where we can see the relative position. From here, measuring distance, to here, we get around, about 3 miles almost. Now, again, this is going to be very rounded off. Okay? Next, we're going to, just a second. Next, we're going to hit the layer here, and we'll see the outline of what is officially the island shape here. That'll come important in a minute. So that means this is near an area where water is breached by, sand or whatever. This is like a sandbar. And part of the image looks like that of it. It's essentially just, it is essentially just a sandbar. It's got nothing else out there. It's mostly a hazard to navigation, not much else. Okay? All right, now we'll zoom out a little bit. And I'm going to have you look at this object here, which apparently is probably a lighthouse or something. And apparently it's got a little road out there and all sorts of stuff. Lots of fun to go look this up. Anyway, let's zoom that back out a little bit. Okay, now we're going to go to the next map, and you'll see this object here in cartoonish mode. But the things to pay attention to is this shape, Prudhoe Bay itself, and this cross island here. And we're going to look at the area this is in, and I'm going to try to keep it like that as best I can. Okay, so there's Prudhoe Bay, and there's our little thing sticking out in the water. There's Cross Island over here, and there's Midway Islands. That's this entire strait. There's Argo Island, and this one's called Reindeer Island. And if I zoom out just as little as I can get away with, we're looking at around anywhere from, let's say, 38 meters to 50 meters, like 150 feet, unless these are feet instead of meters. Most of the offshore map use the word meter or yards or whatever, or fathoms. I'm assuming this is 50 meters of depth. That's the maximum depth. It could be as shallow as 30 meters. So, a little less than 100 feet, all the way down to 150 feet depth. And this is the island shape. Generally, the little dotted line might indicate where it's so shallow you can walk in it. Anyway, that's literally all there is to it that we have access to. Not much else to it. So yeah, somewhere out there, if you want to go out there with a car and brave this situation that probably shatters this road every year when it pseudo-permafrosts, you can go out and go check on it. Otherwise, unless you're like into most dangerous catch, I wouldn't drive or walk out here most likely, because that's some tough stuff to be in. Anyway, that's what I've found that's maybe useful to you watching. I doubt that it's really all that useful. And the approximate location is excruciatingly ultra-high precision approximate, because the map they showed was this. By the way, all hail Faux News or Fox News for providing this ultra-high quality image that's being stolen and reused all over the internet, giving credit where credit's due. This is probably from one of their broadcasts, and it could be totally inaccurate. But anyway, as I mentioned before, this is nearby, and if not right on top of, Midway Islands, Reindeer Island, by Dead Horse, aka Prudhoe Bay. And yeah, it's shallow enough they should be able to find it pretty quickly. Except it's winter and it's probably covered with ice pack, and yeah, diving is lethal to you if you're not very experienced, and yeah. But anyway, hey, thanks China for the interesting news story to go look up. Anyway, I'll leave a link to this. This one here is most useful. If you ever have anything go offshore, this is the map set to go for. Bye.